you're very passionate about what's going on with among the people and the apprehensions,
Yeah, these guys showing up, to job sites, treating people like animals, not treating them without human dignity. Like,
it's crazy.
Whatever happened, like due process, whatever happened to the American dream. And like a lot of people on social media also say that they just have to be here legally and do this legally and stuff. And all of these guys are, and people don't realize that the process is full of red tape.
I would say over 90% of construction workers and laborers are Mexican, right?
Easily, man. As much as people want to sit here and deny it, and the stats might show otherwise, we know what it is.
Yeah, we're building this country, bro.
People need to realize that. Like, the problem is deeper. First off, the system is broken from all angles, right? All of our schools and all of the curriculums, schools have been stripped, right? These trades have been stripped from school. I'm talking about, guys to lay tile, guys to lay the foundation, pour concrete, landscape our yards, tape and float, sheetrock. How can you attack the only people that are still willing to pick up a shovel?
Welcome back to the Carlos Reyes Show, and today we have a very special treat for you because the subject today is some would consider a very sensitive subject, right? Today we're going to discuss something that nobody in the construction world wants to say out loud. ICE, that's right. Immigration, right? And the fact that ICE has been apprehending construction workers across the country. You've seen it all over social media. Many of them, if not most of them, or all of them, are Mexican laborers, right? But here's a real question. If you remove the workforce from this country, specifically in the construction side of things, who's going to build America? And also, who's going to pay the price? And I'm very excited because, someone that's been somewhat going viral on social media that has been consistently touching this subject is none other than our very special guest today that's in the building, a friend, a up-and-coming rising star out of McAllen, Texas, a Mexican-American young man, business entrepreneur, real estate investor, and developer, Mr. Angel Gonzalez. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me, brother. It's a pleasure. Thank you, man.
So before we get into the whole, ICE thing, because it's funny because, another community member of Empresarios is here, and he's like, oh, bro, I've been seeing your stuff pop up.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy to think.
Right?
Yeah, it's wild.
And you've been talking about ICE and everything that's going on, and I'm so excited to dive really deep into that.
So am I.
Right? But the first thing is, I want you to introduce yourself, man. Who you are.
Yeah.
Right. Where you come from, what your upbringing was like.
Yeah.
And how you ended up doing the amazing things that you're doing in the real estate investing and development space, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, man. So my name, once again, is Angel Gonzalez. I am 28 years old. I'm a first-generation Mexican-American. So my parents brought me to the United States when I was about a year old, give or take. I was born, obviously, in the States, but we went back to Mexico for a little bit and came back to the States when I was about a year old.
Wow.
Growing up, man, middle class, we never really needed anything. We lived a fairly good life, you could say. And then when I was about 9-10 years old, we hit a rough patch, right? So my dad went to prison, and I don't blame him for what he did at the time by any means. He's a completely changed man to this day, Christ-driven. And he gives me a lot of advice. He's always instilled a lot of faith in me, so very grateful for that. But yeah, my dad went to prison, then my brother shortly after went to prison, followed, I guess, the same footsteps, you could say. For other reasons, my brother also, by the way, is also a changed man, and he actually works closely with me now in my current business.
Praise God.
And then my sister, I'm the youngest of three. I got an older sister. She went on about her way, and then it was just my mom and I, man. So we hit a rough patch, you could say, depending a lot on welfare, food stamps, Section 8. And yeah, man, I grew up knowing what the struggle was like, watching my mom struggle to make ends meet. And that just lit a fire in me, bro. It lit a fuel in me, and I just knew that I wanted to get us out of this, and that I never wanted us to encounter a similar situation. So yeah, and then a little bit after this, I've done a little bit of everything in my life, right? So I've worked retail. I've been a salesman at heart since I was a young kid. So when I was 14 years old, I started selling Herbalife. I don't know if you've ever heard of Herbalife.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
I sold some too.
There you go, man. Let's go. So I did very well there. I made a little bit of money. And then things didn't go as planned. So shortly after, I got a regular job working at Blockbuster Video. And then after Blockbuster, I got a job at Lowe's Home Improvement. And then I got a job at a pawn shop. So back to sales. It was sales, commission-based and also like an hourly.
Isn't that beautiful, by the way?
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? You know, it's funny, right? Because when you look at, especially a young man like yourself, 28 years old, doing the things you're doing, spec homes, right?
Yeah.
Full-blown developing these nice, luxury homes.
That's right.
Most of them, would you say north of $1 million, maybe?
In the
Well,
valley,
it is McAllen, Texas, right?
400,000 or 500,000.
Okay, 4 to 5. That's like $1 million anywhere else if you're
100%.
in McAllen,
Yes,
Texas.
More,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So, hey, I'll get you back to the show in just a second. I just wanted to come on here real quick and encourage you that if you are a business owner that's looking for top level coaching and a great community because you're experiencing challenges in your business, all you got to do is click the link right in the description and we'll reach out with more information. Now back to the show. So it doesn't matter. Like, brother, I've never developed a home and I've been flipping houses for a very long time.
Yeah.
Have you ever developed a home?
No.
Okay. So it's a very niche, unique skill set, right? So anyway, the point that I'm making is this. Every person out there that might be watching you or watching me or watching any other entrepreneur online,
Right.
right? When they look at you, they look at me, or they look at any other entrepreneur online, the first thing, and they see us doing what we're doing, they're like, they're like, oh man, that guy's been doing that his whole life.
Oh yeah.
That guy's an expert.
Yeah.
But you're sitting here telling me that you worked at
Blockbuster
Lowe's,
Radio.
Blockbuster, pawn shops, Herbalife. So I'm hoping that anybody that's watching or listening really comprehends the fact that is the journey of 99.9% of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
The difference between us and a lot of other people is that we roll the dice and we don't play it safe.
Take that leap.
We take that leap, but forget taking the big leap, right? We try so many different things, right? And we're not afraid. We're not afraid of failing. We're not afraid of trying and taste testing different businesses or different industries, right? Until we actually kind of find ourselves and find our passion or figure out something that, oh, wow, this thing can really take off for me.
Yeah.
Most people don't even give themselves that opportunity. Does that make
Failure
sense?
is the fuel at that
100%,
point.
yeah.
And the failure, most of the time, is a failure that we don't even anticipate,
Yep.
is the one that perpetuates this.
And the other thing is, I'd say, most successful entrepreneurs, they fail forward.
That's right.
They
That's
fail
what it's
forward.
about.
Think about it. What were you doing at Blockbuster?
Oh, stacking DVDs and CDs on the shelves, man.
And listen, I'm not to put your business out there.
No, not at all.
Not to put your business out there, but you're 28 years old. You're traveling the world with your wife.
Yeah, man. Very
What
blessed.
a blessing,
Very
right?
blessed. Yeah, very good.
And you recently picked up a McLaren.
McLaren 720S.
720, the big dog. I don't know
big
nothing
boy.
about McLarens.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to spell McLaren. I don't.
Yeah.
Right? But you just picked up a McLaren 720S.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, bro, first of all, right? Again, dude was stacking videos at Blockbuster, working at pawn shops,
Yep.
working at Lowe's. What were you doing at Lowe's?
I was in the lumber department. Yeah, hardware.
Stacking
lumber.
lumber. And now he's stacking, he's stacking lumber in some way by, now he's developing the lumber,
Yeah.
right?
And I also did a lot of blue collar work. So I was actually a tradesman for 5 years after what I did.
Bro,
Yeah.
at 28 years old, brother, if nobody's ever, and I'm sure they have, God willing, right? But it's inspiring, bro.
Thank you, man.
It's inspiring for you. Blockbuster, Herbalife, lumber at Lowe's, pawn shop, now developing spec homes, driving, I would say, one of your dream cars.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah, most definitely.
I mean, come on, bro. At 28 years old, bro.
That's called the American dream.
I'm like,
That's
first of all,
right.
you're living the American
sir.
dream,
Yeah.
and you're definitely. It looks like you're headed in the right direction, bro. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That bro, that's already inspirational for anybody that's watching and
Thank
listening.
you. Yes, sir.
Right? Do you remember what you were doing at 28, Sal? What were you doing at 28? Were you driving around a McLaren, Sal?
I was a car dealership owner. I mean,
No, you were driving a Prius when I met you. No, I'm just but you own a car dealership. I get it. Yeah. You did own a car dealership.
Hey, don't shame my pre-pre. I love my pre-pre. I used to love that car.
Now you're all about Tesla.
Oh yeah, Tesla. Hey,
Right?
self-driving.
Tesla
You can't argue the self-driving is
I
the
get
best
it.
feature.
I get it.
It
I
is.
get it.
That's
I get
right.
it. I totally understand. So, bro, you've done a lot of great things. Obviously, I mean, you've
Thank you,
tried a
man.
lot of things, failed forward. How did you land doing what you're doing today?
Yeah. So I was about to get into this. So I was after working in the pawn shops, was a salesman obviously, and I was always finding different ways to flip, things, make extra money, make extra income. I always had that side hustle. I was a chip guy too. Before I get into that, I want to mention this because it's kind of funny. So I mentioned that we were on welfare. So we used to get a specific dollar amount, and it was always a surplus because my mom and I wouldn't, spend all of it. So she would give me her food stamps, and I'm pretty sure this is legal, by the way. But I would take her food stamps, and I'd buy a bunch of snacks, and I'd go sell them at school. Anyways, yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. Again, it's
called
probably
hustling, bro.
That's right.
It's called
man.
hustling, bro.
Yeah, man.
It's called survival.
That's right. Survival.
It's survival. People don't understand the things that we have to do, coming up the way we came up,
Yes, sir.
in poverty and in a broken home,
Yeah.
right? Single mom, Mexican mom.
Mhm.
People don't understand the kind of things that we have to do. Obviously, with the exception of robbing and
Oh, 100%.
robbing
Right,
people
right. No.
and all and breaking the law in that aspect, but people they can't even process some of the things that we've had to do
100%.
to just survive that day. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I even remember, man. Like I know what it's like to get your water shut off, your lights shut off, having to go to the next door neighbor and fill up a jug of water in a trash bin, heat it up on the stove to take a warm shower. But anyways, man, that's
For sure,
that's
bro.
a different story, bro.
For
What
sure.
what I was gonna get is you asked me how I got into the game of real estate. So shortly after, I used to work at these pawn shops, and I started flipping gold. So the way I would do this is we'd have a bunch of gold out on the sales floor that didn't sell, so we'd have to send it to scrap. And all the positions that I've always worked up to some sort of, I've always been a go-getter and some sort of.
You've always been a hustler.
Yeah, managerial position. I had my own store or whatever. I opened and I closed and whatnot. So I had certain approvals, right, that I could get. So instead of sending this gold out to scrap and the company losing on it, I'd sell it to myself for right at cost. Or right under cost, and then I'd go for $17.50 at the time. Gold is much more expensive now. I'd go down the road and I'd sell it for $18.50. So I'd make $1 difference, and it wasn't much money, but across a couple thousand grams, it was a little bit of extra bread. But after this, man, I knew this wasn't sustainable. I was making maybe 30, 40 grand a year, and I would always see these guys, these tradesmen, in their big trucks and their chains come layoff season. And they'd come and they'd pawn their chains and whatnot. I knew these guys were making money. And I was like, these guys are making money for sure, but they're spending it stupidly. So I said, hey, if I just maybe go out there myself and do this the right way, maybe I could stash, save my money and start to invest. So I'd seen this video on YouTube about house hacking where you buy a piece of multifamily, so a duplex, fourplex, whatever you buy, and you live in one unit, you lease out the others, and you live for free, and sometimes you can even make a little bit of extra money, right? After your PITI, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And so I went off, man. My dad actually got it. He's always been very resourceful, even though I've never relied on him financially. He's always been a very resourceful guy. He got us, me and my big brother. My brother was fresh out of prison. He didn't know what he was going to do with his life, so we went, man. We went to the trades. And I ended up as an iron worker in the wind turbines in the renewable space.
Wow.
I did that for 5 years, building wind turbines from the ground up.
Damn.
Climbing 400 feet in the air and industrial, man, working with big industrial cranes. It was an awesome job. The camaraderie was
that's amazing.
yeah,
That is.
the camaraderie was great. It was a blessing. It was awesome. But then something started to click, and I was breaking my back, busting my ass, for somebody else's dream, and it was cool and all. But these 70, 80-hour work weeks, 90-hour work weeks, 18-hour shifts sometimes at a time, it just wasn't it for me,
Yeah.
So I had savings. I was stashing all my money, and I was very intentional about it to the point where I would dissect my bank statements and wherever I could save money. No fancy dinners, no night, nothing, man. I mean, I was also away for like months at a time, so it started to affect my relationships with my now wife. And it wasn't the way of life for me. I knew there was more out there. I was meant for more, and I could do more. So I bought my first fourplex with an FHA loan. And for those that don't know what an FHA loan is, it's a government loan where you only need like 3.5% down, plus closing costs and stuff. I think it was like a $20,000 investment, which ended up, being worth it because the ROI, came back tenfold when the market peaked and I sold it. But yeah, man, started to build up a little portfolio. And I realized that I was doing it all wrong because I was saving all of my money into these down payments because I was, cash flowing a little bit of money from the fourplex. So I started buying more houses, and I think I built up to like 7 doors, right? And it's crazy to think right now we'll get into, the portfolio, what the portfolio looks like now, but 7 doors. And I started to make just enough money in cash flow to sustain myself and my personal lifestyle and my mortgage and my truck and whatnot. I was making like $2,000 a month passively, and I went all into real estate. But something clicked, and I realized that I was doing it all wrong because I was sold on this idea of building a magical cash flowing portfolio that was going to allow me to like retire on a beach somewhere, right? So 5 years, and I only built up to this little bit of cash flow. I was doing it all wrong because I was asset rich, but I was cash poor, and not literally cash poor, right? But my lifestyle didn't change. I was still stuck working, and it wasn't it. So that's when I started learning high income skills. And I got into the game of wholesaling real estate. I got into fix and flips. I got into new construction. And I only tapped into that once I went full-time into real estate and took that leap of faith. And then the rest is history, man. I started flipping homes. I started buying the large, commercial apartment buildings with my partners. And now we're building a lot of homes. And it's just a blessing to be here, man. Very grateful. All glory to God. And yeah, man, that's yeah.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you, man.
We
What a
deserve it, man.
blessing.
Thank you,
what a blessing. Yeah, it's funny, but Sal and I, we've never been we've been in the game of real estate for, I would say, if you're 28 years old,
probably over a decade, I'm assuming.
Okay. So in 2013, Sal and I were like we were friends, and we're like, let's become business partner. And then we actively started looking for houses maybe in 2014, I would say. You know what I mean? So let's just say him and I, we've been in the game of real estate for, at least, let's just say 14, what is that? So
12 years.
12 years. Let's just say 12 years, right?
It's awesome.
12 divided by 28. So 43% of your life, Sal and I have been business partners in the game of real estate.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that to say this. We've never been big fans of single family rentals, bro.
Yeah.
And I get it, but by the way, it's because it's a really good thing for a lot of people. Right? Especially people that have 9-to-5 jobs, 401ks and IRAs, right?
100%.
Yeah, it is. You're stacking up for a future. You're building a portfolio, you're building real wealth, etc. But imagine, right, if your average, especially in Phoenix, Arizona, right? If your average house cash flows $300 a month after everything is paid, right? You got to actually acquire 100 rentals to make 30 grand.
A sustainable life.
Oh, and by the way, God forbid, right, that the AC goes out on one of them.
You're cooked.
Right? So let's see what that's like. Watch this.
Yeah.
God forbid. So let's just say, you're cash flowing $300, per house. That's about $3,600 a year.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So the exact math is $3,600 a year times 100 houses.
Right.
You're $3,600 a year. Did I do that math right? Times 100 houses. What is that cash flowing every single month? 3,600.
Well, divided by 12, then divided by 12.
Times.
3,600 times 100 divided by 12. It should be like 360,000 divided by 12.
30 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, 30 grand.
Yeah.
Bro, I got my numbers all messed up here. Hold on. If you're generating $3,600 off one house
a year
times
100,
that's $360,000
divided by 12. That's
$30,000 a month.
Yeah.
Got it. There it is. So, watch this. Ready?
Not something I really want to point out too, though. Not to mention, in order for you to probably even be able to cash flow the 300 or the 500, you talk about 100 houses, you would need $6 million to put as a down payment with today's interest rate for that to even pencil out. So I was actually talking about this the other day, is just to put it into perspective, it'll maybe take 60 grand as a down payment so you can be able to cash flow the $500, $500. That's only $6,000 a year. And this was when I had the mindset shift, right? Because it would, you invest those $60,000, it would technically take you 10 years to see those $60,000 in cash flow back in your pocket. It's crazy to think. Obviously, we're not talking about the appreciation and whatnot, right?
Yeah. But there's other incentives.
Of course, right? And then, like you mentioned, what if something goes south? Or you can just flip a house, or you can, build a house and you can make 60 grand in half a year.
It could
it's
be
crazy.
it could be a good plan, part of a bigger plan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes,
Long
but it can't
term,
be the
right.
plan. I don't think that's a great plan by itself.
Exactly. I think people need to prioritize and strategically, again, prioritize a high income skill where you can multiply your capital, and then once you have enough money so that it doesn't make a dent in your bank account, to passively start investing for that long term wealth.
Absolutely, and use those assets to save you taxes.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Depreciation, cost
segregation,
segregation,
yeah.
100%. Yeah.
That's why I believe in diversifying your portfolio.
That's right.
Again, Sal and I have never been big fans of single family, rentals, but we're big fans of multifamily. We're big fans of private equity.
That's
We're
right.
big fans of flipping. You know what I mean?
Big
Right.
business,
So
yeah.
I'll give you an example. All right. So if you have a home, don't get me wrong, the taxes and the offsetting, right. The tax savings and all that is great, right? If you own a home, but now $3,600 is what you're going to generate off that one home in a matter of a year. The AC goes out, you're in the red.
Yeah.
Or somebody
You're in the red for that year.
somebody
Maybe
doesn't
3
pay
years,
rent, and
2,
you have
3
to
years.
kick them out.
Or someone doesn't want to pay their rent, right?
And you're done. Yeah. If
You-
you're in a
you might break even or
if you're in
go
a
into
blue
the red.
state, if you're in a blue state,
Oh,
you're,
yeah.
you're
You
in
might-
California, it's over.
It might be a
Screwed.
year before you can get them
Oh
out,
man, yeah.
right?
That's right.
Okay. So now those that exposure is there whether you like it or not.
Right.
Right. Okay. We just said 100 houses at $3,600 a year will generate $360,000 a year for you, right? You divide that by 12, you're at $30,000 a month. Well, guess what? You flip one house, right? Boom, you just made north of 30 grand,
right.
in most cases, not all
Of
cases,
course,
but in most, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
And it would take you again, like probably a good $6 million to build up to the 100 properties.
It would
which
take
is
a lot of
insane.
cash,
Yeah.
a lot of leverage for sure. So never been a huge fan of single family rentals, but again, I mean, there's people out there, especially people like that are listening to like the Bigger Pockets podcast, are
Right,
like
right.
rentals, right? That's how you build your wealth. And yeah, it is one of many ways to build, long-term wealth. You know what I mean? What about owning equity in companies, which is what me and Sal are into? Private
right.
equities. That's what Sal and I, that's our thing.
That's right. Yeah.
And we've been working on this private equity situation for many years. I'll tell you the first time that Sal and I actually, right, in 2016, I launched the medical company you see upstairs. I launched that in 2016, and then Sal bought into it in like 2018 or 19, right? But watch this. In 2017, we started, because there's so many different ways to do private equity, right? You can have a holding company, right? And then you have all these you have all these small companies, these private companies underneath that umbrella, which we've had in the past.
Yeah.
Whether it was we were the founders of that company, right? Or we partnered up with other people in their company, or we acquired and merged, right? There's a lot of different ways to do that. You know what I mean? But again, for us, everyone has their own
Niche.
their own niche, but also their own path
Yep.
to long-term wealth. You know what I mean?
That's right.
For some people, like my father-in-law, who bro, it's funny because people think that entrepreneurs don't respect 9-to-5 people. No, I think the ignorant ones don't respect 9-to-5 people. I respect 9-to-5 people because I saw my father-in-law be a City of Phoenix garbage man for over 30 years, take care of his family while his wife stayed home, raise 4 children. You know what I'm saying? Put away a good, retirement plan, and he's one of the most amazing human beings that I've ever, that I've ever met. So it's not that one size doesn't fit all. You know what I mean? And by the way, I can't hear his mic, and I can't hear mine. Yeah. And maybe because I can't hear out of mine anymore in my headphones. But anyway, there's multiple ways to skin the cat. There's a lot of different ways you can peel the potato.
That's the beauty about this country, that there are so many ways that you can become an entrepreneur, and I think that's
So many avenues you can take.
so many, but most people are scared and they want to stick to playing it safe and playing it safe or seeing every single move before they start.
Yeah.
Did you know that you're gonna be a developer?
No, not really, man. No. It was kind of something that I mean, of course, coming up and once I tapped into the game, I mean, I saw, who was making the most money and whatnot. And it's always something that I aspired, to. And I seek the answers to all the questions that I had, and I was very intentional about everything, and until I got my foot in the door, But you mentioned like people they overanalyze and they overthink, and it's just like it's this fear, and that's just what results from that is analysis paralysis. And people think that you got to have it all figured out before you take that leap or before you get started. But the reality of it is, you get started, you get going, and you figure it out along the way. And that's what people don't understand, right? And also, this directly ties into mentorship. For example, for me, I seeked all of the answers to the questions that I had. And I mean, at this point, I've probably spent over 6 figures in guidance, conferences, mentorships. I've gone to all of you guys' events. I've been personally mentored by you two. And man, it was probably one of the best decisions.
Why do you think so many Mexican Americans are afraid to invest in themselves?
Mm-hmm. I think what it is maybe the way that they were raised, right? You have this like machista.
Well, the way we were raised.
The way we were raised,
Yeah,
exactly. So excuse me, the way I was raised, the way everybody was raised, right? It's like just this machista mindset, right? That you got to kind of figure it out, on your own, and to each their own, and it's just like survival mode, and it's just
everybody's out to get you.
Yeah, someone's always out to get you. You got to be. Everything's always. There's always like distrust. People they just always. I mean, how can I put it?
Skeptical?
How can I phrase this correctly? Very
Skeptical?
skeptic. Yes, very skeptic, and I think we learn these not values. Sorry, we learn these
from the Americans.
Yeah, maybe
we learn it from the Americans. We learn how to right. We learn about personal development. And,
100%.
Right,
Sorry,
and investing into ourselves, right, from the Americans.
Most definitely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you think that? Let me ask you this, right? Do you think that most Mexican Americans don't invest into themselves due to ignorance or stupidity?
I think it's ignorance.
Because ignorance is not knowing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Stupidity is knowing and still doing.
Yeah.
Right. Ignorance is just, I just don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that.
Maybe a little bit of both. Knowledge gap. It could be a knowledge gap, and then it could also be, stupidity that they know and they just still don't take that leap. Or
I like that knowledge gap.
And you know what's crazy, by the way, bro?
That's landing it softly.
Yeah, that's all it is. That's all everything is, though. Yeah.
Instead of ignorance.
It's like choosing in between. That's the in between the two.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah. Well, not only do we not invest in ourselves, but we don't even invest into our business. We don't invest. Right. We don't invest into hiring the right people. Right. What is our hiring process? What is for a Mexican American? What's their hiring process? Right. Hey, güey, ¿conoces a alguien? Hey, you know somebody?
Yeah.
Hey, tienes un primo, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's not a hiring process, bro.
Yeah, no.
Right? It's like, does he have a heartbeat? Do both of his hands work? Right?
Yeah,
Can he get to work?
That's right.
That's not a hiring process.
Nope.
And then you wonder why we don't build big beautiful businesses.
That's right.
That are systemized and delegated. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Right. So that's what I was going to ask you. Is like, dude, we're afraid to invest in ourselves and invest into our businesses. We're afraid to invest into the right people. We're afraid to invest into marketing. Right? Or even yourself, aren't you investing into your branding?
100%, yeah. A lot
you spend thousands of dollars every month on your branding.
Easily, yeah.
Speaking of branding, by the way, we were having a great conversation earlier where you said, bro, because you've been driving a big truck for a while, right?
Yeah, I have a bunch of trucks.
What kind of truck did you?
I have a Raptor. That's my daily.
Great, a Raptor for someone is a dream.
Yeah, that's
right. Us Mexicans, we call it. Can you pronounce it? We say, mamalona.
Mamalona.
There
you go.
There it is, right?
That's right.
So Mexican Americans, by the way, we're not afraid to invest into the mamalona.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Because it's all about projection.
The lifted trucks.
We got the ostrich belts.
Oh yeah.
The
snake,
boots.
The snake boots.
The
are
snake
like
boots.
$500.
You can't hate on
the
that. Hold
crocodile.
on. That's a neat. That's a like
Panza
the
de
boots
Caiman,
and that's
the Cayman boots.
Cayman
boots.
Right. Yeah. See, we're not afraid to invest into. We got our
big
our
baby.
golds.
I had a big baby bracelet that the white guys would make fun of me when I was out in the trades.
See,
the big gold bracelets, the big gold chains. Yeah, it's fun.
We like to invest,
that was me, man.
We like to invest into things that we can see.
Yeah.
Right. Or wear. You know what I mean?
Well, you have to get it out of your system first, because I think it's safe to say that the three of us here.
Oh yeah.
You went through your season.
Oh, for sure.
You went through your season.
Excuse me?
But I think there's a
Went
I
through
think
my
there's a
season.
balance though. I think there's a balance because I think you can enjoy the fruits of your labor, or you could do both, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
but it's always important to stay mindful and not to seek validation from people that don't matter, and it's all
Yeah.
about projection, and that's how, unfortunately, that, and I don't think it's just in the RGV. I used to say to myself, oh, it's just here and where I'm at, that everybody's always constantly seeking validation from others, trying to keep up with the Jonases and trying to impress other people. And this guy's got a new truck, so I gotta have a new truck, and it's always just about like a competition or something like that. And no, but that's everywhere, and it shouldn't be
It's a
like
sad thing. It's a sad thing, and I feel like us Mexicans, brother. We actually I can't speak for the Arabics, right? But it's
Very, very much alike. So.
it's like crabs in a bucket mentality. Is like,
Yeah.
well, if he has that, I want it too.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of, man, look at that truck, and then going, you know what? I'm gonna go ask him how he got it.
Yeah.
Instead, we're like,
Pride.
yeah. Instead of, oh, he has it. Oh,
I gotta get it.
I gotta get it. I'm
I'm gonna get some better.
gonna hate him for having it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hate him for having it.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna get something better just so they.
Or I'm
can
gonna
think
one
that
up
they-
him.
One up.
I'm not gonna be able to pay my mortgage,
Facts.
but I'm gonna one up him because I'm gonna have a better try. I'm gonna pull up next to him at the next red light. Oh boy, he's gonna see what I got going on.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. It's staying broke, trying to look rich when you should be acting broke, staying rich.
You know, I've been following this Jewish rabbi,
Okay.
and he's like, I love his content. I just started following him yesterday. He goes, we Jews. We Jews. We'll drive a Toyota Prius, right? And you'll drive a Mercedes Benz, but we'll own the building that you're renting. Renting while you're parking your Mercedes Benz in it. I'm like,
right.
man, we got to start thinking that way.
Oh,
We do.
Bro, by the way,
Right?
he's dropping bars.
Oh, I'm telling you, bro, you need to start following this cat.
Yeah. Okay.
You need to
Okay.
start
It's
Yeah,
the
he's-
sad
he's-
truth, man.
He's dropping all the Jewish secrets.
Ooh. Well, it's time for us to pick some up.
He is. He
We
is.
gotta learn from him.
So, okay, you were driving a Raptor, a Mamalona, right?
I still have
Which-
my daily.
I love it. I love it, bro. I love
Yes,
it.
sir.
And I've been seeing, one of our business partners. We were in Cali recently, and he pulled up in a Shelby,
Ooh,
a
love
big
it.
old lifted, right? A big old
Yeah.
lifted Shelby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn.
Yep.
I was like, damn, bro. And I think he owns it cash, right? And I'm like, dude, you recently, that's what I was tell you. This is the conversation we're having. You were like, dude, yeah, bro, I've been developing. I show the houses.
It's insane. Yeah.
I show the houses. I show the traveling. I show, the fact that I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
But nobody cared. Nobody cared until recently when I started. When I purchased one of my dream cars, which is it's called what is it?
McLaren,
A
yeah,
McLaren.
McLaren, yeah.
I don't even know how to say it. So a McLaren 720, and then I just started filming a little bit. The car's behind me, and I'm still doing the same things I was doing before the car.
Yeah.
And now what's going on since you've been
Man,
showcasing the car a little
Yeah,
bit?
and don't get me wrong, it's one of my dream cars. I'm very, very grateful, very blessed. It's a blast, man. I mean, I love driving it. It's super, super cool to say that I own one now, right? But yeah, it's kind of crazy because now there's like this aura, you could say. I don't know, people see these things and I don't know, they just go crazy, despite the fact that, a few years ago with my partners, I bought a 72 unit apartment complex. Last year we bought an 81 unit
Nobody
apartment.
cared.
Millions of dollars.
Nobody
like, big
cared.
deals, big, nobody, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, people show
A
up,
few,
but not
maybe,
as much.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
The,
despite all
the shock and awe factor isn't there.
Exactly. Despite all like the milestones that I've hit, everything I've done in my real estate career, which I'm very grateful, and also I say that very grounded because I've always realized that
You are a
there's-
very humble person, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And I'm intentional about it. I pray every single day when I wake up, to make sure, because I honestly, I fear that I'll become arrogant, right? So I pray every morning, every morning that I wake up in prayer, I pray for that. It's one of my requests, to
At
to my Lord
28
and
years
Savior, yeah.
old, at 28 years old, with the Rolex on your wrist and a McLaren
yeah.
in your
And
driveway or in your garage, right? And developing real estate, right? I could see how it's very, very easy to become arrogant, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, you're 28 years old, bro.
Mhm.
28 years old. Most 28-year-olds out there right now, bro, like they're still trying to move out of their house.
That's right, man.
They're still trying to move out of their mom's and dad's house.
Yeah.
And
Which is-
arrogance is their operating system.
Yeah.
They don't even know that they're arrogant.
Yeah.
They're operating
And
from that's
and
their whole thing.
Yeah, and I love that you say that. One of my core values, which you guys actually taught me to instill into my company, core values, one of my core values is humility, man. And my definition of humility is realizing that there is far more to ourselves and to who we can become. Sorry, let me rephrase that and say I messed up there. It's realizing that there is far more than ourselves into who we can become, who other people can become, and how much more we can do and be. So no pride, no arrogance, always realizing that we can keep growing and we can keep scaling and that there's still more out there, stay hungry, stay driven. And yeah, just wanted to briefly mention
I love that, bro. And before we get into a lot of the, polarizing stuff that's going on in the construction world with the ICE raids and apprehensions and all that, talk to me about McAllen, Texas. Talk to me about McAllen, Texas, right?
Southern tip of Texas. Literally, we're like 10 minutes away from Mexico. We're a border town. It's actually like the metro area is it's a little bigger, I think, amongst all the cities. It's like a southern strip of cities. It's called the RGV, the Rio Grande Valley. It's a small city, a lot of growth. There's a lot of development there, a lot of opportunity. But yeah, man, I lived there. I actually grew up in Mission right next door. I was raised in Mission, but now I live in the city of McAllen, and it's up and coming. It's growing. There's a lot of opportunity. Everything that I've built and that I've done has been at home. I've never focused in any other market other than my backyard. I've always been in my backyard. And
good strategy, by the way.
Yeah. I know that market like the palm of my hand, so I'm very confident in it. Definitely
you know what to buy for.
100%.
You know what you can sell for.
That's right.
You know what's going to move fast.
Oh yeah. But I'm definitely looking into tapping into other markets, right? But,
expanding.
Yeah, but McAllen, man, unfortunately, recently we've seen a large influx of ICE agents, all around, and it's affecting.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Is it because it's a border city?
They need to go after the Arabics.
Yeah, it could be that, but I've actually seen.
Leave us alone, bro. We had our fair share of.
Why are we getting caught? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not the ones that get.
What did we do to you?
Flagged at the airport all the time, right?
No, it's very unfortunate to see though, man. And I don't think it's just us. I think it's everybody, right? I mean, you've seen all the stories, the headlines. People are, deaths.
The Somalis.
Yeah, that too, right? But deaths, are resulting from this, and it sucks. It sucks to see, man. And if you want,
I wanted to ask you that, bro. Why? Like, it seems like you're very, you're very passionate about, what's going on with, among the people and the apprehensions,
That's right.
Where's that come from?
Yeah, I want to be very careful the way that I respond to this, because some people, especially all the backlash on the social media and stuff, they see the stuff that I'm that I've been putting out there, right? And they're saying that all I'm worried about is because it's affecting my business, right? But that's not at all the case, man. I mean, I genuinely care about these people, and I mean, just the fact that at the beginning, because it's definitely gotten a little better, and I hope that's a result of everybody speaking up and the videos that we've been pushing out. I mean, hopefully it makes even the slightest difference. But these guys showing up, to job sites, treating people like animals, not treating them without human dignity. Like,
it's crazy.
Whatever happened, like due process, whatever happened to the American dream, and like they show up, no questions asked, picking up these people. And excuse me, let me mute this. Sorry.
I didn't hear it.
Sorry, I was just hearing buzzing. So what I was saying is, they're treating these people without dignity, and they're picking them up, and then they're having them ask questions later. Like, it's messed up. It's really not cool. And some of these guys, I've sponsored them myself, and a lot of people on social media also say that, oh, well, they just have to be here legally and do this legally and stuff, and all of these guys are, and people don't realize that the process is full of red tape. It's not as easy as people make it seem. It's really not, and it sucks, man. It sucks.
You know what's crazy, by the way? What's crazy? Well, they need to go after the Arabics.
Duly noted.
You know what's crazy, bro? In Arizona, we haven't seen activity like that, honestly.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, bro. We have most of the time we have minimum, I would say now, 12, 15 projects going on, all the time, and no one's ever rolled up on us. And don't get me wrong,
maybe it's started in the South?
We do have RGC is, he's legal, you know what I mean?
Of course, 100%.
But GCs have subs.
That's right.
Right, and things like that, and a majority of, I would say over 90% of construction workers and laborers are Mexican, right?
Easily, man. As much as people want to sit here and deny it, and the stats might show otherwise, we know what it is.
Yeah, we're building this country, bro. Yeah. Someone built this office, by the way, right? Well, a Mexican built this office.
That's
It wasn't an Arabic.
Mexicans built my house. our
It
people,
wasn't
man.
Arabic.
Hey, don't knock down the Arabs. They still do construction. You know, we still.
I've never in my life have seen an Arabic flooring guy or a framer.
My house
A roofer.
flooring
I've
was
never seen an
installed by
Arabic on the roof.
dude.
I never seen an Arabic on the roof. Anyway, you know, here's what I was thinking, bro. Do you believe that ICE has been heavily targeting McAllen, Texas, because over 85% of the population is Latino?
Probably, man. That's.
Did you know that, by
I
the
wouldn't
way?
doubt it.
Did you know that?
I
Over
did.
85%.
Yeah,
I'm looking
yeah,
at.
yeah. I
Yeah.
knew that stat. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy, bro?
It's wild, man.
It's like mini Mexico in McAllen,
It is.
Texas.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned, right? Because you guys are in Phoenix, right? Nowhere near the southern tip of Texas. And, you know, people say, oh, well, it's just because you're in a border town, yada, yada. But no, like, you guys.
We're in a border. Yeah,
I know you guys are
we got a
border town as
3
well.
hours from here.
Right. But you guys, you say about 90% of all of your workforce is, at least in construction, residential.
I don't have a white guy that works
There you
for
go.
any of my crews.
That's right.
I saw a black guy once.
Point proven.
Remember that? When we rolled to Pierce? The electrician was black.
I wasn't there.
I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, bro. That was the first black guy in 13 years that I've seen work at one of our sites. You know
That's
what I mean?
right,
I think
yeah.
he's legal. No, he's legal, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
and then the size situation, right? Another thing that people say is like wage structure, right? Because they get paid very minimal, and you know they undercut everybody else. And dude, I'm about to post a video right now that one of my concrete, you know, contractors drives a $150,000 truck,
A Shelby.
a Shelby F250 Super Baja. And it's just like, dude, first off, I'm 28 years old. I did not create the wage structure in this industry. I've only been building for a few years. I stepped in and I paid what these skilled tradesmen were already charging. So that's not at all the problem. You know, people need to realize that. Like, the problem is deeper. First off, the system is broken from all angles, right? And I always mention that even, you know, all of our schools and all of the curriculums, schools have been stripped, right? These trades have been stripped from school. There's no, and when I say trades, you know, I don't mean HVAC and electrician, and like the most common trades, right? I'm talking about, you know, guys to lay tile, guys to lay the foundation, you know, pour concrete, landscape or yards, you know, tape and flow, sheetrock, things like that is what I mean and what I'm referring to, right? And it sucks because, you know, how can you attack the only people that are still willing to pick up a shovel? You know, it's messed up to see. It really is.
Well, let me ask you this. You know, with all this ICE, I don't want to call it propaganda. You know what I do? This is why I do call it propaganda, and sometimes people get upset. The reason why I call it propaganda is because, don't get me wrong, in McAllen, Texas, it's not propaganda. But in a majority of other cities, it is, right? Because the news is pushing this narrative of like, ICE is, they're grabbing everybody, right? Hide your, what is it? Hide your wives, hide your kids, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's, you know, if you look at the real numbers directly from the website, right? The ICE website, I think the deportations were like, 472,000 in 2025, which is, it's a drop in a bucket compared to the millions and millions and millions of illegal immigrants that the Biden administration allowed in through open borders. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why I call it propaganda, because yeah, bro, yes, people are really, getting caught or getting rolled up on, which I don't agree with, by the way. I don't agree with, but if you think about 472,000, right, the ratio when it comes to deportations versus the influx of illegal immigrants that came in,
right,
during Biden's administration, brother,
or
like I said,
Obama's.
it's crumbs.
And the thing is, like, you can be for both, right? Like, I'm for secured borders, don't get me wrong, right? But I'm also for human dignity,
Agreed.
So it's
100%.
You know what I mean? It's not that I'm over here saying, oh, keep our borders open and let everybody in. Like, no. And by the way, I don't know exactly what the stats are, but when Biden administration was in office, there's a border in my backyard. My dad lives in Mexico. I go there a lot. There was a line of probably like thousands and thousands of people from Venezuela claiming asylum. Venezuelans, not even Mexicans.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, just to kind of put it into perspective.
Bro,
Also,
we Mexicans don't need an open border to come over here. We've proven that over the last 100
swim,
years.
man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
You've proven that.
I've proven that multiple times, right? So, but the reality is, bro, the people that were coming through the border weren't even Mexican.
Yeah.
They were, you know, they were like,
Honduras, yeah.
they were Chinese, they were Arabics.
Leave the Arabics alone.
They were. They were,
Yeah.
right? They were. Think about it, right? Like, it's easier for them to come through Mexico than to come through the East Coast.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So, again, and then guess what? When, you know, the way that the narrative flows is like, oh, you know, an immigrant is an immigrant, right? Whether you're Egyptian or Mexican, and it's not the case. You know, I don't.
right.
Again, I can't speak for those cultures and ethnicities, like what they're coming here to do. But we come here to work.
That's right. Yeah.
We come here to work, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Something to note too. Trump's mom came here from Germany, and his grandparents came here from Scotland. So immigrants. You know?
Bro, I don't think. Listen, I know, and I'm not for Trump anymore. I'm not for any of them anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a conservative because, you know, I'm a Christian, right?
right.
So we Christians are very biblical.
That's right.
Our foundation is biblical, and it's, you know, conservatism. But I'll tell you what, you know, Trump lied to us.
He did.
And I'll tell you why. How did Trump lie to us? Well, when it came to the immigration policy, I clearly and vividly remember that he said, "Oh, we're going to have mass deportations, but we're going after the people that already have a removal order. We're going after the people that are criminals."
Criminal records.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, we're not going out. He didn't say nothing about like, oh, we're going after the guys that are laying down flooring somewhere. You know what I mean? Right?
Framing our houses. Yeah.
And it's kind of hypocritical of Trump because guess what? Guess who builds all of Trump's buildings?
Yeah. That's right.
Mexicans.
Yeah.
Mexicans built all his buildings. The Trump Hotel over in Vegas, Mexicans built that place.
That's right.
The Trump Towers in New York, Latinos and Mexicans, you know, because, you know, people are like, oh, don't call me, I'm not a Mexican, I'm a Latino. I'm from Colombia, right?
Yeah.
But no, bro, Mexicans built that place. You see what I'm saying? So I don't think, bro, and I don't know if you saw recently when it was getting heavy on the massive deportations, but he wanted to he wanted to exclude, right, construction sites and fields, right, because people are complaining.
That's right.
Right, and that's what I was going to ask you. With everything you've been seeing, has there been any labor shortages in construction?
So initially, when all of this mess first began, yes. Now we've definitely see it, you know, bettering, which I'm extremely grateful for. And when you mention a labor shortage, like people again put it on us, and they think that, oh, we're only upset because it affects our pockets, man. Like at the end of the day, the only people this is gonna hurt is the Americans. Why? Because if there is a labor shortage, right, hypothetically speaking, sure, labor rates are going to increase. Maybe it's still going to be Mexicans for sure, right? But the ones that didn't get deported are probably going to raise their prices because
why
of that
wouldn't
shortage.
you?
Exactly, right? Because there's less people, right? It's just a direct result of it. There's going to be less
You're a
people
hot
that can do
commodity.
the job. You're hot commodity.
Supply and demand.
Yeah.
Supply and demand. You're going to charge more for your labor. All that's going to happen in this case is us as builders and as developers, we're going to pay it. We take the risks, man. That's what we do. Like, come on, you know? And what's that going to cause? Our houses to become more expensive.
Yeah.
Who's going to be affected? The Americans. So good luck buying a house. People are already complaining. Trump introduced, or the feds introduced, a 40-year mortgage because, you know, nowadays millennials and the next generation can't even buy a house. They can't afford a house. So good luck if this continues.
We will be the cause of more inflation.
That's right. 100%.
There you go. All right. Way to think about it, man.
That is,
yeah.
And I believe that's, no, come on. You know, I believe that, you know, they're going to have to at some point roll out some type of path to legalization.
They need to. Maybe what they can do is, I don't know, hire the Mexicans to teach other people how to do the damn job because nobody knows how to do it.
Or how about work visas?
Work visas. 100%.
Right. I've always, you know what's crazy, bro? I believe, it's like, dude, is our government stupid? Why do I say is our government stupid? Because we can never get immigration right.
Never.
The immigration, no matter whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, we cannot get our immigration policy right. You get what I'm saying? Right. What does that mean? It means something as simple as this. Hey guys, I know we got some mass deportations going on, but here's how we're going to offset some of that so that the country doesn't go completely, you know, underserved when it comes to the construction industry.
Yeah.
Right. And development. We're gonna create a path to legalization program.
Right.
Right. And what does that mean? That means that if you've been in this country for at least 5 years and you've been paying your taxes through an ITIN and you have no criminal record, right? You qualify.
Right.
Think about it. I literally just gave out a policy, like a path to legalization policy. That's simple. How come our politicians can't do it?
Mm-hmm.
5 years, no criminal record, you've been paying your taxes through an ITIN.
Yeah.
That's simple. And I don't want to say this, but I'm gonna have to. Why can our corrupt how come why can't our corrupted and stupid politicians roll something that simple? Roll out something that's
Very
that simple, bro.
That's right.
It's so simple.
Yeah, 100%.
Did I miss anything?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you mentioned ITIN, I think I saw a video that you put a stat out there that what percentage of Mexicans have the ITIN numbers?
I believe it was over 80%.
That's insane. 80% of ITIN number holders are Mexicans.
They're paying their taxes.
Paying their taxes.
Yeah, they're paying their taxes.
And not to
Why
mention,
would you get an ITIN if you're not going to pay your taxes?
Right, 100%. Yeah. And not to mention these guys are here. You know, they pay rent, right? They
contribute.
We buy the trucks, we buy the clothes, we buy food.
Exactly.
We go through the drive-thrus, right?
They pay sales tax, they pay rent. They contribute to this economy whether we like it or not, you know, whether we want to sit here and avoid it.
They're part of the economy.
100%.
We need to put together, right, and I know we've tried, but we haven't really organized ourselves correctly. A day without a Mexican or a day without Mexicans.
We really do. Yeah, we should.
A day without we don't show up to
Or
work.
like a strike.
Yeah. A day without Mexicans. We don't show up to work and we don't buy anything that day. We don't buy anything that day. We don't buy nothing.
Yeah.
And see what happens that day. See what happens.
Ooh.
Think about that.
Yeah.
A day without Mexicans.
Yeah.
Yep. Don't show up to work. Don't buy anything. Just to see what happens. Just one day.
Mm-hmm.
Just one day. Can we do one day? Let's do one day. You see what I'm saying? Right? Anyway, I wanted to ask you a couple questions, bro.
Please, yeah.
Right? What percentage in the specifically in construction, right? Do you believe? I guess what construction of laborers in construction do you believe are undocumented? If you had to take a wild guess.
Shoot, I guess it's hard to answer. I genuinely don't know this stat, but I mean, I'd have to say maybe 25%.
25?
Or you think more or?
Bro, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 50%.
50%.
I'm gonna say 50%.
You're right. Yeah,
Brother, honestly, that's a baseline. It could be more.
Yeah, probably about 50%. You're right.
Yeah. Like if you look at like, okay, you roll up to one of your projects, right? And there's two people working there.
Yeah.
Right? One of them speaks English and the other one doesn't. You know what I mean? It's all right. Right. It's like what's going on over here, right?
Yeah.
But I would say north of 50.
You're right.
50%,
You're right.
You know
Honestly, yeah. If you sit back and think about it, probably north of 50%.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this, right? Like what would you do, to help improve the construction industry and, or the shortage of labor, shortage of labor and what are some things that you can think of that would help immediately improve it?
I think the first thing is not targeting not targeting the only people still willing to pick up a shovel is one thing. The next thing I would do, I think maybe, the most, in my opinion, logical step to start is reintroducing these trades back into our school system. I think that would be, a good move. I mean, it could be a start at least, right? So we can see where that takes us.
Even though it's a long-term plan, but
yeah, exactly. I mean, as opposed to, just taking people, treating them without human dignity and just, picking everybody up, and it's gonna leave, people very labor shortage, obviously, but then nobody's gonna, know how to do these jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. But here's what I will also say about our people, right? And we were talking about this earlier where you said, dude, it's not easy to get it's not easy to become
it's
legal.
full of red tape. It's
not easy to become legal in this country, right? It's not. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's full of red tape. It takes, firsthand. How long did it take you?
16 years to become a citizen.
16 years, put that into perspective. People are, the keyboard warriors out there saying, oh, just do it legally, this, and that. It's not easy, by any means. I'm currently going through a sponsorship process with two of my workers, and even though I don't know too much about the back end, because I'm letting my my accountant handle it and whatnot, and they're working directly with them. It's not easy. I know that much, and people just paint this picture that it's some sort of like overnight, possibility, and it's not the case at all. And it's not even a case of just, well, it is expensive too.
It's costly.
Yeah, it's very costly. So that's one thing. It's costly, full of red tape. It takes a long time, and there could be a much, much better process for them to facilitate their citizenship, or at least residency.
Yeah. I would say in many cases, your the waiting list is north of 10 years.
Exactly.
Right. But here's what I'm also going to say to every Mexican American out there that's watching or listening, whether you are undocumented or you have family that's undocumented. Here's what I'm going to say. Right. We need to get our priorities in line.
That's true.
Right. What does that mean? Hold on. What does that mean? Right.
Yeah.
The time's going to pass anyway.
Yep.
You're right.
Are you planning on being here? Right. Bro, there's been a lot of things that my mom, has done for us, as her children. I believe one of the biggest things that she did for us was, start our paperwork process.
That's right. Yeah.
And by the way, this woman still doesn't speak English to this day. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? This woman's still not a citizen. She's still a permanent resident.
That's right.
You know what I mean? This woman was a single mother. She said, she was talking to me and my wife the other day, bro, and she said, there was weeks where I didn't know how I was going to eat that week or how we were going to eat that week. There was weeks where I didn't know how we were going to eat that week, but I know that I needed to pay for a money order, a cashier's check, to continue the immigration process for
You're
my
right,
children.
man. You really are. I think it's really important that we don't ignore that or act like it's also not a lack of responsibility on them.
Boom.
Because it really is.
Boom.
It really is. Because I
Boom.
have some contractors, right, that I've talked to first, face to face that are a little bit afraid, and they've been here for 15 years and they have schools and they have daughters in schools and high school and stuff. And it's like, come on, man, you dropped the ball too for not also starting your process and taking that initiative. Like, you could have done it. You're doing this, you're doing that. You got big trucks. You're making a good living.
There it is.
You live okay, but you haven't done what and so I think at the same time it might serve at least a little bit of goodness there. I mean, because people are going to be more intentional about it, and now they know, hey, this is serious. So,
we got to get our priorities, bro.
Right.
We got to get our priorities in line.
So you're saying that this might be the fire that they needed to start.
You could
there.
say, I mean, from one perspective, sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it, right? Next time that an undocumented, Mexican, right, one of our people, think about buying a Shelby, start the paperwork process.
Yeah.
Or before you freaking throw a quinceañera for your daughter, start the paperwork process.
That's right.
Before you buy a house, start the paperwork process. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So again, we are at fault to a degree.
Yeah.
Because we don't have our priorities in line. We're not thinking long term in many cases. You know what I mean? We're not thinking long term. We're thinking right now.
That's all.
No, it's like, oh, we're here.
But for the
we're
ones that
legal.
are in survival mode, it's hard to think on the long
understand
term.
that.
The survival. But the ones that you're talking about, like they're buying the cars and they can afford
Definitely.
it, and they have the time.
There's
Then for
definitely-
sure they're at fault for that. But the ones that are trying to survive,
Yeah,
it's
there's
hard to fault
guys-
them for it.
That's right. And there's guys out there that, they the subcontractor, that we hire has his guys, right? And they're on some sort of like day rate. So they're a little more, maybe
Flexible.
like you're saying, right? They're struggling to make ends meet, possibly, but even then, some of these day rates are also aggressive. Like, some guys get paid $120 a day to be a laborer. And I mean,
That's
most
not
people,
a lot. Yeah, it's not.
It's not a lot, but it's more than maybe the guy making minimum wage at McDonald's.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah, not only that, bro, but I'll tell you what. When I came to America for the second time, which was through Phoenix, I remember my mom and myself. We literally were in a small apartment, and my mom and I slept in the hallway of that apartment because there was a bunch of, it's true, the stereotypes of immigrants kind of
Compact.
ganging up and kind of unifying to make something, to pay rent, to pay it happens very often.
it really does. Yeah.
So when I came here, like I said, before my mom ever got our first apartment here in Phoenix, we were living with a bunch of other Mexicans.
yeah, it's true.
And then guess what? Then she finally saved up enough money to rent an apartment, 5 apartments down from that apartment in the same complex.
Wow.
So again, it can be done.
And we've seen this firsthand too. Like, you're mentioning that. I don't know how many years ago that was, right? But even today,
that was 30 years ago.
So I own a few apartment complexes with some partners, and or when we've walked some potential purchases, right? You know, as we're walking the property, we go into some of these units to see in the condition that they're in, and it's happened a bunch of times where you walk into a small unit, maybe it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but there's curtains set up all around, and there's like 5 people living in there, and they're all immigrants, you know, and they just share, and that's because they don't need anything fancy, right? And they're just there trying to, you know, get their way.
Yeah.
But it's still, you know, something that is, I guess that still exists today.
In Texas, you know, where you live, bro, Texas is a tough state.
Yeah.
You know, especially for, you know, it's a hardcore red state, Republican state, you know.
I think the southern tip might be changing soon, by the way, because of everything going on.
Really?
Well, so you guys have this candidate out there that people think she's absolutely crazy. Her name is Valentina Gomez. Have you seen her, bro?
I think I have.
She has a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Really?
And she's lighting up the
that's
Quran, the Quran, right? She's lighting up the Quran. She's like, vote for me. That way, Muhammad doesn't rape your daughter. I was like, whoa, dude.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, you haven't seen her?
I have not. No.
Oh my God.
I thought you were
bro.
talking about the Cortez lady. What's her name? The one that she's also famous like online or something. But I think she's close. She's already like in DC.
Oh no.
Oh,
yeah,
you're talking
no.
about
What's her name? She gets a lot of.
AOC.
No, AOC. She's from.
yeah.
I don't think she's from Texas. She's
no,
from the
she's
East
not.
Coast.
I thought you were talking about her though. But no, I don't know.
Yeah,
who you're talking
I think
about.
she's definitely Latina, right?
She
but,
is. Yeah.
But no, you guys have this candidate, Valentina Gomez, bro. She's wild.
Yeah, bro. Wow, you picked the. you went.
Hey,
I haven't seen her.
she's wild, but she's doing something right because everybody's talking about her.
True.
Or shocking, or some people do publicity stunts. I think that's a publicity
And
stunt.
here's what I don't agree with that specific candidate. By the way, you brother, you can't say these things, right? Ready? Like as a Christian, you can't be like, we gotta kick out every single raghead Muslim out of this country.
Yeah,
and she's like, Jesus, Christ is king. Vote for me. No, bro. You don't. Christians don't talk like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. What are you doing, right?
It's like the Sunday Christian that goes to lunch right after church and trashes the waitress.
Yeah, bro. You're like giving Christians a bad name. You know what I mean? But anyway. You know, just to kind of wrap this up, man, I wanted to ask, you know, what's next for Angel Gonzalez?
Yeah, man. So I'm going to be tapping into the Houston market. We're going to be taking on some new development, some construction, either duplexes or new homes. That's, what I'm, I guess, foreseeing for this year. I just launched Beyond the Blue Collar, which is specifically for blue collar workers and also 9-to-5ers wanting to tap into the world of real estate.
Yep.
And I want to develop my first subdivision, man. So I'm on the hunt for a nice tract of land and become a true developer. Because I know you say developer, which I am because I develop single family homes, but an actual land developer where we put in the infrastructure and we sell tracts of land to other builders and investors. So
big projects.
Yeah, man, that's right. And also I want to just be more intentional about, I want to take some mission trips this year.
There you
go. Getting a little bit more in tune with, I've always had a great relationship on a personal level, right, with God, but I need to be more intentional about actual scripture, man, in my daily devotional. So learning a little bit more about scripture, man, the gospel, I think I need to actually learn about it as opposed to just, having a lot of faith, which I've always had. And outside of that, man, yeah, bro, just my wife and I are building, I'm building our dream home, and I just bought my mom a car. Hopefully I can retire my mom too. And
hey, man, congratulations.
Yeah, just helping other people around me, man, helping people, putting people on, and just, keep doing what I'm doing.
Praise God, brother. I mean, looks like, here's what I tell you, right? As a young man being 28 years old, number one, right? It's like, be patient.
Of course.
Right? Like, dude, I believe that patience is a acquired and learned skill.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Right? That comes with time and experience and failure and betrayals and, and children, right? Having children, right? So the things that are working against a young man like you is like, patience. That's what I say. Patience is a virtue, right?
That's right.
So be patient, continue to trust the process, right? Continue to trust the process. You know what I mean? Like you're going through everything that you're doing right now, it's, there's going to be good things, tough things, right? Victories, failure, there's going to be a little, so just continue to trust the process and continue to trust God's timing. You know what I mean?
That's right. 100%.
So that would be the advice that I would give a 28-year-old, up and coming rock star. And I know you're looking to serve at a higher level. I was going to ask you, you know, if God willing, I think, first of all, I wanted to ask you, is the chaos in Mexico, is it done?
Yeah,
The
probably, man.
Mencho, the CJNG.
There's probably some other random dude in charge.
But
I
is
don't
it
know.
done? Like the fight? Because I saw multiple videos from not only tourists but also locals that Puerto Vallarta has opened up the hotels again, and they've opened up the airports again, and everything seems to be.
I hope they take it.
back to
I mean, I
normal.
hope they at least try to take it a little bit more serious, man, because they need to realize how much it affects. Like Puerto Vallarta, for example, I was there recently. I went to Jalisco actually, or maybe earlier this year or last year. And I mean, tourism is something that's heavily protected, and then because of all of this chaos and stuff, I mean, I'm sure it hurts them big time.
Oh, that's not just. It's not gonna. I think it's gonna. The cascade of that is gonna last longer than even.
It definitely,
Even,
yeah, it
people
will.
are not gonna feel safe going there.
Not at all.
I
man.
personally like. I'm gonna definitely
might-
wait before.
Probably
I
the
just
whole
came back
year.
from I'm not from Cancun, and
Probably-
now I'm considering when I'll go back again.
Probably the whole year, man. I wouldn't.
What did I
doubt
say?
it.
What did I say the other day, guys? I said I just did a show, right? That I dropped it on Tuesday, I believe, and people were actually giving me a little backlash in the comments, right? Where I said it's bad for business,
It really is.
right? The cartels are not in the game of terror. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They're not in the game of terror. They're in the game of making money,
Right.
right? So it's bad for their business.
Right.
It's bad for the government of Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
the tourism, the economy, right? The locals,
Yep.
right? It's bad for everybody.
It is.
It's bad for everybody. So the reason I brought that up is because, you know, God willing, you know, I believe by June, obviously things are going to be way over, right?
Right.
I think it's already over, by the way. I think it lasted like 1 or 2 days, right?
Yeah.
So if you're interested, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take 20 of our empresarios community members down to one of my buddies' orphanage to serve orphans down there. Sal and I did it last year. I did it with my 12-year-old daughter at that time. She's 13 now. She's going to go with me again.
I'm in, man. Let me know.
It's going to be beautiful. My wife went with me last year. She's going to go with me again, God willing.
Love it. Yeah.
Right. So if you're interested, we got
What are the dates?
June. It's going to be mid-June.
Okay.
So I'll keep you posted on that.
It's in Mexico.
It's in Ensenada.
Oh, okay.
We should be fine. You know,
We
you know, what I'm
leave from
saying?
California. And
Yeah, it's Baja. You know, it
be
should be
alright.
fine. We're pretty far. A lot of that activity went down in South Mexico.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
yeah.
So we should be fine. So I'll keep you posted on that, man. And
Sir.
you know, we're excited to continue to see you grow, brother.
Thank
we're
you,
here
brother.
for it.
Yes, sir.
We're rooting for you,
Thank you,
and
thank
we're here
you.
to support you, bro. How can people find you on Instagram or
Yeah.
your social platforms?
Instagram is probably what I use the most. It's Angel ANGEL .invest plural.
Boom.
INVESTS plural. So
Angel-
Angel.invest.
Angel.invest.
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's it
Well,
right
with
there.
that being said, brother, thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you guys for having me.
And
Pleasure.
we'll see you next week. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.